All right, so we're going to add some finishing touches to this hair to be able to control some of the bounciness and the movement of this back piece of hair. So let's do that. And first, we'll start with this one. We go down to the head. We can find our hair stuff. And I am going to add for this. Let's see, just for this top one, let's put a big circle around it like this. And there we go. This is just to have a hair controller. All right, so now that we have the circle here, I'm actually going to remove it from its parent right here, or from the child, and we're going to put the hair back top and bottom. We're going to have these parented to that. So let's set parent, put it to this. And what we need to do is actually make a new version of this. We're going to duplicate this circle. We'll keep it inside of this so that there is something that it's looking at, but we're going to duplicate it without the hair. So this is the actual controller. So this will just be the hair parent. This will be the hair controller. I'm going to set the parent back up to the top where the head is, right here. We're going to turn off the visibility of this down here. We'll turn on the visibility of these. There we go. And then I want to do that PSR constraint. Have it follow this hair controller. So now we should be able to move the hair controller right here, and it should bounce up and down if we want it to. All right, so the last thing I want to do is on these controllers, I'm going to add another user data that allows us to kind of scale up and down these hair strands so that we can have a little bit of squash and stretch if she's running, and if you wanted to have that level of control, you can. So let's make, on these controls, a user data. And let's make a group, put the group inside of here and move it out of the user data. Let's call the group squash. All right. And we'll add one over here as well. Okay. So now when you grab each of these, we've got a user data called squash right here. This is going to be the driver for the scale over here of the hair. So on the right hair, let's go to the scale here. It'll be the Y scale. And I'm going to try this set driven relative, because if I set it to absolute, then the 0% to 100% is going to become 0 to 100 scale, and that's really not at all what we want. So let me just try it and just see what happens on the squash. Still kind of a lot. At 1%, it goes all the way down there. So what we needed to do in order to make this scale work for us with the relative set-driven instead of set absolute, what we did was we changed the user data under Manage User Data. Right here, you can change the limit to a smaller percentage, because 0.1 was already too far. So I decided to make it 0.5 as the highest, with a 0.01 step in between, and I turned it into a float slider. So now we've got that. So you can now animate the squash on her hair. Let's do another one over here. We'll add a user data on the right side. We'll call this one squash. Did it use the, oh, I think I already made it. Yeah, so we already made it. Go to manage user data. Make sure this is same thing, 0.01 with a limit of 0.5%. And let's set the driver on the expressions. We'll go down to this hair left coordinates on the y. Let's set this to set driven relative. Now let's try it out. Need to make the squash its own thing. There we go. And I need to also make it a slider. So let's go back to manage user data, squash. We'll change this to a float slider. There we go. And that's even a little bit too much. So let's make the maximum for this one 0.27. There you go. I wonder what happens if you do a negative. Nope, can't go in the negative. But I wonder if you can actually get in, and this is the kind of stuff that when you're getting into rigging and you start to realize, oh, there's so many cool things you can actually do, and you can control things, set up more controllers to do other things. You probably start to experiment on your own. But let me go into this controller, the user data, and we're going to change the minimum to like a negative 0.2. So there it is at 0. But now it can go up like that, or it can go down. So we'll keep it at 0 for now. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So we'll do a negative 0.2. There you go. All right, so now we have a mouth shape, which we have to find down here. But if we can go into this, turn back on our subdivision surface, this pose morph, looks like we've got a whole bunch of stuff on here. So now we have our pose morph, we have our eyebrows, we've got our mouth shapes, which again, I'd like to make a little UI for this. We'll do this by going to the pose morph itself underneath the mouth, right-clicking on these three and doing a add to HUD. There we go. Now we have all these things that we can add. And we can animate between them.